Thank you guys for coming out. What is the Grow in Guthrie CIP sales tax extension? It is a proposed extension of the existing 3/4 cent CIP sales tax that was originally approved in 2016. That is currently set to expire in 2031. This proposal will not change the current tax rate. So this is simply an extension. It is not an increase. This will extend it by 15 years to 2046, and the funds are restricted to capital improvement projects as is defined in Oklahoma statute. To explain this a little better, for every $100 you spend in Guthrie, 75 cents is added to the capital improvement project fund. 3/4 of 1 cent has funded many projects since its inception, all of which were based on community feedback. We've done the same thing with CIP number 2, this proposal, and the Oversight Committee has taken the survey data, which was collected in December. We had a little under 600 responses. The CIP Oversight Committee has taken that data and prioritized these projects to put forward to the voters. So estimates and timelines. 2016, there was an election for the 15-year 3/4 cent sales tax, which was approved by the voters. In 2020, the City Council, due to the projects that needed to happen, for example, the wastewater treatment plant, purchase and update of police department fleet, purchase of a ladder truck for the fire department, those capital projects, Banner Park improvements, Mineral Wells Park improvements, the City Council projected what the 15-year sales tax would collect, what that revenue would generate, and then allocated those projections to projects as they saw fit. One of the largest commitments is the wastewater treatment plant. And if you're not familiar with the current wastewater treatment plant, it was built in the late 1930s, early 1940s. We're currently under a consent order from the state, which means you've got to do something different or you're going to get shut down. So you're out of the wastewater business if you don't do something different. So previous council, previous city manager got the new wastewater treatment plant under construction. That's a $20 million project. It is not completely funded by the CIP sales tax, but $4 million of debt service is funded by the CIP sales tax. Today, we project an extension will generate approximately $1 million a year. That's a total of $15 million. That is a conservative number, but we like to budget here in a very conservative manner. For example, the sales tax trends across the state. Sales tax is one of your primary revenue sources for municipalities. Sales tax trends this year have been all over the place. They've been up, down, and hard to forecast. So we've looked at the last 8 years of collections, and we think we can safely project $1 million a year for these projects. So projects allocations based on community survey feedback in priority order: water tower and water line maintenance. I'll go more into these here in a minute. Water tower and line maintenance, sewer line maintenance, a second fire and EMS station, continued expansion of the Owen Field softball baseball complex, ADA improvements in the downtown core to start, and then a municipal pool or an aquatic feature of some kind at Highland Park. So let's talk about some of the sales tax successes just to expand a little further. The wastewater treatment plant is energy efficient sequential batch reactor, includes a lift station, a flow equalization basin retrofit, totally new setup and location. Again, that's a $20 million project that was prompted by a consent order. Fire department ladder truck purchased in 2018. That ladder truck has an aerial platform, will reach 110 feet in height, which is sufficient to reach the roof of any building in Guthrie without being in the collapse zone. That truck was put into service the first day it was here. That was the day the fiddle shop burned down. The police department purchased new Tahoe units that, of course, would replace almost every unit we had, old Crown Vics, old Dodge Chargers that were purchased secondhand. They came from other cities. Banner Park is one of my favorite success stories. That park, primarily built by the city's Public Works Department, splash pad, walking trails, Everybody knows what Banner looked like before that park went in. Huge improvement, huge improvement. Mineral Wells Park, able to make some modifications, add in the splash pad, tennis courts, pickleball courts, etc. And then also there were tennis courts, basketball courts, and pickleball courts at both Mineral Wells and Highland Park. So in a short amount of time, we reached several areas of the city with not a lot of money. So the critical needs going forward. Water and sewer needs, we've got 55 miles of pre-1975 water distribution mains that need replaced. We recognize they need replaced. We're working on that. Water tower maintenance, we've got a couple of water towers that are in need of some serious maintenance. A proposed booster pump on a 24-inch raw water main to the water plant. And we have 21 miles of sewer line that need to be replaced as well. Second fire and EMS station, Logan County is the third fastest growing county in the state. Everybody can see that when you're driving down either I-35, even Division. You see the housing subdivisions coming in. You see that folks are moving into the community as we continue to grow south here in Guthrie. Owen Field Sports Complex, the City of Guthrie, we're committed to pursuing future phases of Owen Field. You're probably looking at that and going, Eddie, nothing's changed out at Owen Field. Well, we're going to have a groundbreaking ceremony on Thursday. We've got a couple of projects out there to get some new fields put in, get some paving done, new parking lots, etc. So that project's been in the works since 2020, and it's been held up at the federal government due to Section 106 requirements for public comments. So that project's been held up for 3.5, almost 4 years at the federal government level. Highland Park Pool, of course, everybody knows the only community pool was built in the early 1940s. It's over 80 years old, and as best we can tell, it leaks 40,000 gallons of water a day. Think about that for just a minute. ADA accessibility improvements, we're in severe need of sidewalks and intersections that are ADA accessible. That is one of our needs that we hear most often, both out at Public Works and at City Hall. So these proposed projects, based on the survey data that we received from the residents, water towers number 1 and 2 maintenance, so that's the water tower on the west side, and then the water tower over here by the temple. Both of those towers are approaching 90 years old, and it's time for them to receive the maintenance that they need at that age level. That can include interior and exterior painting that will protect the quality of the water, the quality of the tower, prevent any future structural issues, as well as the manhole going into the tank is no longer OSHA compliant. So it's not safe for us to send our guys in there. We're still able to do inspections and routine maintenance via cameras and other tools, but as far as physically sending somebody in there, we can't do that anymore. Owen Field Sports Complex expansion. Want to continue to expand on that. We've got 3 fields, ball fields currently scheduled to be constructed, one of which is has lighting. That project, when it started in 2020 as a matching grant, was a $2 million project. The inflation we've seen in the last 3 years, that project today is now $3.6 million for the same 3 fields. It doesn't take a genius to know we've got to make up for that somewhere, and we've got to continue these projects. Aquatic feature, Highland Park. Of course, the pool that we can't sustain 40,000 gallons of water or loss per day. And then number 5, a new fire and EMS station in South Guthrie. So as you all are probably well aware, you're sitting in the central station, the only station we have in the city limits at this time. Back in the 90s, City of Guthrie had 3 fire stations. We're now sitting in 1. The ability, not only for response times in different parts of the district, but also for your ISO rating, the further away you are from the fire station, the worse off your insurance is. The South Guthrie location, Sooner and Division, that corridor, that has been the focus because of the access points. So not only the folks around the lakes, but the access to I-35, even though it's a further distance, you can still be at Love's East, for example, in almost the same amount of time, if not less time, depending on traffic conditions, from this location here. So it's 2.9 miles approximately from here to Love's East. It's 5.25 miles from Sooner and Division. Because of the interstate, you can be in the same part of town in practically less time. So the focus for that location has been where can we reach the most amount of people in the least amount of time. The second station, we're going to build it to house up to six staff members. So we currently have 10 staff members on at any given time now. The second station will have a capacity of up to 6. We won't have 6 members there when we start. We may have 2. We hope to have 3. It may be 2. But the goal is that this station and that station, they're not taking away from each other, they're actually helping each other. So we're trying to eliminate barriers, not create additional. So what are the funding options for the future? If we weren't asking for a sales tax extension, how would we do this? Well, the other proposal is to do a general obligation bond. The only way to fund that is a property tax. City Council and the Oversight Committee unanimously agreed that was not an option. There's no way the council was going to authorize any type of property tax levy. So the general fund, again, is primarily made up of sales tax. And the general fund supports many city services. Aside from water and sewer, everything that this city does, police, fire, is supported via that general fund. So let's talk a little bit about water and sewer. Why we're focusing on the water towers. The water towers, like I said previously, haven't been touched 80 years as best we can tell. Public Works Director's been here 30 years and has no record of any major maintenance like what we're proposing having taken place. And we've got 55 miles of pre-1975 water distribution main. 55 miles. The price tag to replace that was $90 million. 90 million bucks. We have no revenue source in place, nor can we generate enough revenue to replace every water main in the city. We've got a project ongoing right now. It's approximately 1.7 miles of water line, and it is just shy of $2 million bucks. Just shy of $2 million. So, and that's the second water project we've had underway since I've been here in the last year. The first project was a replacement down division. So replaced a 10-inch main with a 12-inch, so down division. Pool or aquatic feature, again, we've talked about the pool. It's over 80 years old. You see that picture up in the top there. That's the base of the pool. Tenny took his boot and was able to push it around like that. So the concrete is literally degrading underneath us. The seam there, you can see the joints where they're coming apart. We've reached a point with the pool, not only is the water loss an issue, but the state has now said, okay, it's not ADA compliant, you've got a water issue, you've got several issues here, you have to do something about this pool. Owen Field. So top picture there is what it looks like today. Bottom picture there is what we're proposing. So phase 1A would be these 3 fields, ideally, depending on how the bids come in. These 3 fields, new concession facility, new parking lot, new entryway. This field would be lit, and then also a concession gate entry here in the middle. So in talks of the ball fields, that project has been talked about for I don't know how long. I've had several people tell me 40, 50 years. John Chappell, the athletic director at the school, was talking about it when he became the baseball coach when he was 27. He just turned 60, and we're still talking about it. It's time to move on this project. ADA accessible projects. This intersection down here on the bottom of the sidewalk you see there, that is a demonstration of an ADA accessible sidewalk. So you've got a slope, you've got a trunket there on the bottom, lets you know you're exiting the sidewalk. The sidewalk picture in the middle is what you see in most of the downtown core. So the bricks, there's no sloping, there's no advanced warning that you're leaving the sidewalk, you're just out into the road. So for folks who are visually impaired, that's what that trunket's for. It lets you know you're exiting the sidewalk. So folks who are visually impaired, they don't know. It's the same, they're still on the sidewalk as far as they're concerned. And then there are several places in town where we have no approach at all. This is one of our priorities, again, based on survey data. Right now, currently, most of your crosswalks across Division, Oklahoma and Harrison, Noble and Division, you've got the sign, the lit sign that says it's okay to cross, and then it gives you the 20-second countdown, you need to get out of the street. Well, for folks who, again, are visually impaired or they're blind, they have no way of knowing they need to get out of the road. So today, the standard for crosswalks is voice-activated sign, and it starts counting down for you. So you hear the 20-second countdown, you know you need to get out of the road. So that's something we've looked at as well. Second fire and EMS station, we've talked about this a little bit. Current station is that yellow dot where you're at. The ring down there is the general vicinity of where we want to be, Sooner and Division. Touch on the EMS district for just a minute and what that means to this fire department. So the city of Guthrie, in size, we're approximately 20 square miles. Our EMS district is approximately 510 square miles. The city of Oklahoma City is approximately 600 square miles. So your guys here cover almost the size of the city of Oklahoma City with their EMS abilities. That's huge. That's huge. And that is a result of the contract with Logan County EMS Board, and that's where most of the fire department's funding comes from. I'll be honest with you, it is a large funding source for the department. So let's talk about the Guthrie Fire Department. So we got 31 full-time employees, including Chief Lawson. Fire district's approximately 125 square miles. So again, fire district, the city. The city's 20 square miles, 125 square miles of fire district. EMS district, 510-ish square miles. Their operating budget for fiscal year 24 is just shy of $4 million. So we got 31 employees, numerous apparatus for $4 million a year. I tell you that to say there's no additional money in the operating budget to fund these improvements. So let's talk about their facts and stats. Their average calls, approximately 4,000 calls per year, up 33% since 2016. The average response time within city limits is 3.38 minutes. The average response time outside of city limits is 11 minutes. So if you look back at that fire district, and then you look at that EMS district, and they're getting there on average in 11 minutes. That's a big deal. Again, that speaks to the quality of the employees we have and the location and the apparatus that this community has committed to funding. So 2023, 523 fire run incidents, EMS related incidents, 2,717. That gives you a little over 3,000 calls. Approximately half of those were outside city limits. So they're within those districts, but they're outside of city limits. So when you think about the fire department, many of the things they do are not strictly fire related. Whether it's an auto accident, an elderly lift assist, a patient transport. They may transport you from one hospital to the next, or a care facility to the hospital, or vice versa. Persons in distress. That's just a quick overview of the things that they do. I'm a staunch believer when Zeb Robbins or Drew Heimer or these guys who have been here, when they show up and they're going to take care of you, they're local people. They care about you. It's not a service provider coming in here looking to turn a dollar, and they're after money. They're after money. So, and I'm not knocking them. They're in the business to make money. But what we do here is about patient care, and it's about taking care of the citizens. And that's got to be the first priority. Frequently asked questions. What happens if we don't pass the extension? Well, nothing happens. We've had one station since 2004. We can continue to make it work. It's not ideal, but we can proceed just as we have been. Keep in mind, in the 90s, we had 4 stations at one time, I believe, and we're down to 1. We'll continue to do what we can with the resources we have. Water lines, $1 million a mile, depending on the size of the line, type of construction. Water towers, you're looking $700,000 each. Booster pumps, they're getting higher all the time. 2020, the cost of the booster pump to increase the capacity of the water treatment plant, the capacity that it's actually treating, was just shy of $1 million. The updated cost estimate the engineer gave us last week was $1.9 million. We're on the wrong side of time. We're trying to play catch up. We're doing the best we can with what we've got. So, how long will this extension last if it's passed by the voters? Again, keep in mind this is not an increase. It's just an extension, and it will last until 2046. Do we have the highest tax rate in the state? No, we do not. In fact, for communities that are similar to Guthrie in location, size, population, budget, etc., we're actually one of the lower sales tax rates in the state. Now, it's really hard because we compare ourselves to our neighbors to the south, Oklahoma County, and their sales tax rate is less than 9%. So when you compare Guthrie to Oklahoma County, it's real easy to say Guthrie has a higher sales tax rate. Well, this is a community of 12,000 people, and that's a community of 500,000 or 100,000 directly south. So there's more people to absorb that lesser sales tax rate. And when you take that into account, the sales tax in Edmond, for example, is 8.6%. And that's because the county doesn't have a sales tax yet. I think you'll see Oklahoma County go out for a sales tax relatively soon. So Edmond's at 8.6, we're at 9%. Let's say we're doing pretty good. Why can we not rearrange the existing budget to fund capital projects? We've talked about how we got to where we are. Why does the city of Guthrie need a new fire and EMS station? Again, as the city grows, we continue to see folks in South Guthrie, West Guthrie, and future probably East Guthrie who are going to need care. And so we're playing catch up, but we're trying to get ahead of this. And that's what your city council, that's what your oversight committee, and that's what your staff is working on. So if you want to learn more, watch CIP Town Hall number 1 and go to growingguthrie.com. We've put all of the materials on that website for you. So you can see everything CIP 1 has funded. You can see these slide decks. You've got my contact info. If there's any questions, Growing Guthrie can answer them. If you don't get your questions answered there, feel free to call me, give me an email, talk to anybody, any of our oversight committee, all of our staff members. If they don't have an answer for you, we'll get you an answer. So now we've got a couple of videos we'll watch.
Hi, I'm Dane Lawson. I'm currently the fire chief at Guthrie Fire Department. Out of this one location, we're currently serving over 500 square miles. It's not feasible to keep operating the way we're operating. There are several areas in our county that take over 30 minutes to respond to. This station that we're looking at, the location, would look to cut those in about half.
The worst part about it is we know that there's somebody with an emergency, and as helpers, as firefighters, EMS, we want to be able to serve somebody and help somebody. So when you put us in a vehicle and give us some lights and sirens and give us all the equipment and everything, we can't control how far somebody is away.
So early 90s, we had 3 locations for stations, actually. In 2004, this station got built, and we closed down 2 of those stations, so we started operating out of 1 station. Our union had a study done that showed we should be operating out of 3 stations and 45 personnel. Currently, we operate out of 1 station, and we have 31 personnel.
It's like we have a chain with a weight on our leg. Being able to have a second station will primarily take a good load off of us here at this single station, but it will allow us to get that opportunity to be there for somebody and help them way quicker than we normally can.
Last year we ran almost 3,700 calls. The year before that we ran 4,000. We've doubled our call volume, in fact, since 2013. We're going to have to expand. At this point, we have outgrown our station. We just did a remodel on our station to add 3 bedrooms. If we add 3 more additional personnel, we're completely maxed out of our fire department. We can no longer house any more firemen. We currently have a second storage building that is across town from us that we house some of our extra equipment in, and then we have to park some of our rigs outside that are frontline apparatuses that we have to sit out in the weather.
We have 2 boats that we store at our armory during the winter. A while back ago, there was an emergency that we needed to go to the armory prior to going to the location first, which heavily delayed our response time. By adding that second station, it will take away that massive response time just to get to the station, to the apparatus to help somebody.
It would not only be beneficial to our personnel, and it's something they need, but to me, it's also something that our citizens deserve.
I recall one time a callback went out, came to the station, I was by myself. Another call went out, I responded to that by myself. Waited on scene, called for additional resources, and waited and stabilized as best as I possibly could. At that time, we had our crew fighting a fire. We had to pull people off of that fire to come and help serve the emergency in which I was on. And then additionally, we called in, other resources showed up and arrived. Not only with personnel, with the station, it's the citizens in this situation that matter and that is going to benefit from this mostly, because I'm going to show up and work at this job every day, no matter what conditions are, no matter what trucks are parked out there. It's to the citizens' benefit, though, if we have everything set in place for them properly: apparatus, station, personnel, response times, etc.
You heard Zeb say, we're going to do what we have to do, regardless of what we have. I think that's been the attitude of this department, and really of this city, because the issues we face here, we face in almost every department. We didn't get to 55 miles of line that needed to be replaced overnight. It happened over time, and we kicked the can down the road and we didn't get it done. So that's what you're dealing with when we talk about the fire department. You've got guys who care, and they're going to do their best regardless of the circumstances.
I'm Tenny Maker, Public Works Director for the City of Guthrie. The water towers are important to the City of Guthrie for multiple reasons. One, to serve adequate pressure on our distribution system, adequate pressure to the residents, and then of course fire suppression safety, to have adequate pressure at fire plugs for safety reasons. Approximate age of construction of 2 of our towers is in the early to mid 30s. Reaching close to 100 years old, and that's a pretty lengthy lifespan for a water tower. Our water towers are needing interior painting, exterior painting, as well as some additional repairs to meet OSHA standards. Painting the interior is important for us to be able to provide a quality of water that is safe for the citizens. Cost estimates for painting the interior, exterior of our water towers are approximately $600,000, and that's only just the painting. That does not include any of the upgrades that would be needed to bring us to OSHA standards. Our raw water line is our water line that supplies our water from our 3 sources of water, Guthrie Lake, Liberty Lake, and the Cottonwood Creek. That raw water line needs a booster station installed on it due to that line being currently just a gravity feed line from our lakes. The booster pump would allow us to boost that water into our plant as Guthrie grows and demand increases. The booster pump will increase the capacity of the water that we're able to get to our water treatment plant. Cost estimate for a booster station to be placed out front of our water treatment plant is approximately $1.9 million. If we did not have the booster station, the future for Guthrie to grow would be extremely limited. We're only going to be able to treat the amount of water that comes into our treatment plant, and without the booster station, we're limited on the amount of water that we can get into our plant. So ultimately, we can only treat what comes into the plant. So it's very important that we can get this booster station.
You wouldn't think a water main break down by the water plant could affect something on the north end of town, but that is true. It is true. And so anytime we have a water line issue like that, we have to go out and flush the fire hydrants. With the drought comes water restrictions. We typically will then cut our flushing down to a minimum. So then at that point, what we're going to do is we'll flush the water hydrants, what's required by Department of Environmental Quality standards, whereas in a typical situation, we may run that water hydrant further along or for a longer period of time to ensure better quality. The quality of the water is still safe, but it may be cloudy or darker than what you're used to.
I look back in the past year to see approximate number of significant water main breaks that we've had, and we've had over 90, which equates roughly 7 a month. So when Guthrie does have a water main break, it really involves a lot. The age of some of our lines, the types of some of our water lines, finding fittings these days that even adapt and fit to these water lines that we have in Guthrie is very difficult. Today, if we used to go out and replace, say, a mile of 12-inch water main, we're looking at a cost estimate somewhere around $1.5 million. Improving our sewer system in Guthrie is very important for a few reasons. One, for growth, having the ability to grow and to be able to provide sufficient piping that can handle that growth. It's important to replace these lines and be on a good rotation system of some sort to keep the city out from underneath a consent order with ODEQ.
And what you're seeing from this community is compassion, and it's time to get it done. And that's our plan. Thank you guys. Feel free to reach out. My contact info's here.